Okay, I'll be ready.
Okay. All the
Area plan.
September 29th, 2025 meeting of the Delphi Redevelopment Commission to order. And let's just quickly go around the room and introduce ourselves and who you're representing.
Christina Reinfer, I'm mayor appointee to this commission.
Jenny Myers, City Council.
Spencer Kingery, City Council.
Anita Whirling, mayor appointee.
Mike Tetrault, mayor appointee.
Shannon Telfer, Carroll County Economic Development Administrator.
And the minutes were distributed. Have you had a chance to look those over? If so, I would entertain a motion.
And a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any additions or corrections? All those in favor of accepting the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And I'm an aye, motion carries. Okay. Shannon, will you take us through the current financial?
Finances haven't changed since our last meeting. The current balance in the account is $184,364.10. We do have an invoice from Baker Tilly in the amount of $6,375. And once that claim is approved and paid, then there'll be a balance of $177,989.10.
What was the amount of the claim again, please?
$6,375. And that is for the tax increments, financing services from Baker Tilly and for the 2026 TIF base neutralization worksheets.
Looking at now, sorry. Okay, so no changes then to the financial report. The motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of accepting the financial report, signify by saying aye. And I motion carries. Okay, let's go ahead and.
Marion online.
So let's review the invoice that Shannon was just discussing. Baker Tilly for the tax increment financing services through September 4th of 2025, an amount totaling $6,375. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying the invoice to Baker Tilly for $6,375 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I am an aye, motion carries. So we'll get that prepared and down to Julie. Okay. The next order of business is to review the 2026 proposed budget, which is in your packet and has been prepared by Shannon. The fund deposits are estimated to be $70,000 in June 2026, and then another $70,000 in December 2026, for a total of $140,000. And in discussion with Shannon, sometimes we don't show that the whole amount is being spent, but since we're working on creating a project list, and also since we know that we have right-of-way purchase that may take place for 218 and engineering and surveying, then that would need to follow that. We are likely to run into our account of the $177,989. So we're showing that basically what comes in goes out in 2026. And happy to discuss that, but could I get a motion first?
Motion.
Spencer,
Turn here.
I'll second.
and Mike with the second. Okay, discussion.
Thank you, Cameron. The program and additionals, that's kind of like extra, just kind of for the projects, like kind of being big over the project stuff.
Yes, and we're going to develop a list of projects, proposed projects, for each of our allocation areas. And so basically, the programming portion would be dollars that we would spend on that programming, in addition to the amounts perhaps set aside for the engineering.
Okay.
And like I say, it's very likely that the budget for 2026 will not cover all of our expenses, but we do have 177,000, 178,000 in the account. Not that we plan to deplete all of that, but it's very nice to have a cushion. It's very nice to have anything. I mean, it's been so many years in the development, so to speak, or redevelopment, perhaps. Questions, discussion?
I have a question. I just don't recall, have we had any right-of-way purchases this year for 218?
We have not spent any money. We do have one right of way signed, one easement signed and ready to record. It's likely that we may have to spend something, but we're still on the negotiating stage on all of that. And we'll get into that a little bit later. Is that, the project update?
Tuesday.
We'll get to that in just a little bit.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure if we actually spent it, what that amount was, just
Nope.
for comparison purposes, but we haven't. Okay.
Do I need to send Jonathan a link as well, if he's not gonna be here in person?
I gathered that he is not feeling well, and so I think he sent his report, but
Okay.
wasn't planning to,
Sure.
but thank you.
Yeah.
For that. Okay,
How realistic is like for the estimate? Is that pretty well in keeping with trends and where we're going, or how's that number? Okay. All right, for the income side. I was
it's
curious where the numbers came from, or,
pretty much in keeping, provided that, we actually get the money that is for all of our allocation areas. We always have to check with since our funds come through the county, particularly the area that's on the west of 421, where the new hardware store and, those properties, Manchester, et cetera. Sometimes we have to,
Be mindful of that.
yes,
That's the nice way to put it.
just, be mindful, that's very tactful.
okay,
But yes, it's probably a pretty good estimate.
okay.
And the more homes that are erected in bonus states and establishing those tip funds, which that subject to whatever Senate Bill 1 changes.
Yeah,
Will take away from that, but it'll grow each time that not immediately, but the year after those funds will.
Yeah,
right. And certainly we're already seeing the impact of the 5 lots that were sold separately, and houses were built and sold fairly quickly, and we did see some funds coming in from that this year. So, okay, are we ready for the vote then? All those in favor of accepting the proposed 2026 budget, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And I am an aye, motion carries. So let's talk about the meeting schedule for November 10th, which is our annual public meeting. And at that meeting, obviously, we will have approved our budget and then we will present that. But we also need to, and the underlying taxing units will be invited to that meeting. So the school corporation, the Deer Creek Township, yada, yada, all of those but yada, he's not very professional, so. And, so, you know, that will hopefully we'll get some of those, representatives from those underlying districts to come to the meeting. But we'll also then look at, plans for each of the allocation areas. So, I believe we are ready to move into that planning phase. However, I would propose that we first look at the project update and talk about the 218, and then that's out of the way and we can spend time, the rest of our time on the planning for those taxing areas. So the report from Jonathan, did everyone get a copy of this? Okay, so let me take you through this. As a follow-up to our exchange of emails last week, here's a brief update for the project 218 easements. This is from Jonathan. The Andersons, the initial letter was sent on July 22nd. Jonathan, James, and Anita met with representatives from the Andersons. We met on August 28th. The representatives asked for a copy of the easement documents. And they, at that meeting, conveyed concerns about the proximity of the easement to their cob piles and asked if the lines could be moved further away from the property line. They thought they owned an adjacent parcel, which they do not. So in reviewing it, we determined that rather than change the, the line of the, change the easement document, or which would involve, resurveying and a lot of time, that we would specify protection for the comp piles, both in the design documents that are prepared for getting bids from contractors, and then require that the contractors who are, and putting in the water and sewer lines would take special caution. And that might include barriers between the area where they're digging and the comp piles. It might also include having basically a tank truck on site during the time of the digging by the piles.
You want to print those for everybody? That list you have?
Do you have another copy? Because I can continue.
I have it on an email, like.
Yeah, Jonathan just sent it to me to send.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Or sent it to you to print,
Yeah.
so I'm happy to send it to everybody, or you.
Yeah, why don't we just have her send it out after the meeting?
Okay.
If that's okay with you, and then we'll just keep going. We're pretty much done with the Andersons. The easement documents have been sent to corporate, and we're waiting to hear back from them soon. That John will be following back up with Jared Nichols as our contact at the Andersons. Initial letter was sent to Carol White, REMC. They are agreeable to the easement, but they want to ensure the depth of the proposed infrastructure does not prevent them from crossing it with their electric utility in the future. And Jonathan has reached out to VS Engineering, who did the original easement documents, et cetera, to inquire about what the anticipated depth would be at that location for the sewer infrastructure. We'll get that information back to Carol White, REMC. Jim and Tina Garrison, initial letter was sent. We now have contact information for Mr. Garrison, and Jonathan has reached out by phone, wasn't able to make contact, so he'll continue to pursue that. We're still waiting, hoping to find contact information for Watson Yerkes. The initial letter was sent on July 22nd, but we have not been able to follow up. So if anyone has contact information, please get it to Shannon.
Right.
And then the Kirkhoff Right, Again, the initial letter sent on July 22nd. Jonathan and James met with Mr. Kirkhoff at the CCEDC office, where Mr. Kirkhoff indicated that he received 35,000 per acre from Carol White REMC for the easement they acquired or from his property, and that he would like to receive the same from the CCEDC, which is really from the RDC.
That was for purchase of the ground, I believe.
Pardon me?
The actual purchase of the ground, I believe, not.
Yeah, right. He also expressed frustrations with prior EDC executive director. And is this the same situation that we had with Adam? He was really talking with Adam Wright, was he not?
Correct.
So apparently, when parcels were purchased and we were trying to get, status to be the first level of shovel ready, they were required to do a wetland certification that was out of pocket to them. And it appears as if the former executive director of the EDC promised reimbursement, and that didn't happen. So, that's kind of why they're taking the hard line. And, we're not asking to purchase land from them, we're asking for an easement, so that's different. Carol White actually purchased. My understanding is that he purchased the land from them. Is that correct, Shannon? Is that your understanding?
Yes, but I believe there's an easement too, and I don't know how
How
the
they-
easement works.
Yeah. So we have some negotiating to do there, but I think, one of the, there are certainly a number of strategies that we can employ that would either not require us to spend a great sum of money for the easement. I mean, really, it's to their benefit for us to proceed with this project because their property is not going to sell until a buyer is assured that utilities are going to be coming there, and we can't proceed with the design work for the engineering design until we've secured the easements. So it's kind of a chicken egg situation, and their property is not going to is likely not to sell in the interim without some assurance to a potential buyer that utilities can be gotten there in a 1 to 2 year, 2 year to 3 year period. And if we can't get the easements and move forward with the design, that just keeps pushing it back further and further. So obviously those negotiations still need to take place. And we'll continue to work with Jonathan and James to make those contacts again to Adam and to Kirkhoff. And then Wildcat Resources, yay, we do have a signed easement document from them. And I think that document is now ready to record. So that's the update from Jonathan. And a little bit of the discussion. So if you have any questions, I will try to answer them. But
The Kirkhoff Wright property, is that north of 218? Is that the big area north of 218?
they have property on both sides of 218. I
Is it the
believe.
one at that's adjacent to 25, like
Yes,
kind of like by
one
that?
of those, yes,
On this.
they're north of the rail.
Okay,
And of course, their parcels are rail served, so
yeah,
they will have a great benefit if we can get utilities.
Yeah.
To them.
They have 2 parcels, one's almost 13 acres, which is on the Libby Abbey side, and then the other one's 60 acres.
on the bigger
Which is-
field.
Correct.
Yeah,
I think you say 50 on the other side.
60.
60, and it butts up against the heartland.
The 13 one does.
The 13 is.
The smaller sliver.
This is smaller.
Yeah, the 60 doesn't.
The 60s, Wildcat Creek is one that butts up to, is on the department.
Okay. So I've got them flipped in my brain. Try to calibrate my brain.
Sure. Maybe. See.
Okay, any other questions on that?
Is there a realistic, with your experience, is there a realistic time frame in like shovel ready? 1 year, 2 year?
So
2 months?
assuming that we can get the easements. And then assuming that we can, get engineering done in say a 6 month time period. And then you're letting contracts, so then you're a year or two of construction, so we're 3 years. At minimum,
I figured 2 plus.
yeah.
I was hoping.
With
You do that out there, like,
Would you agree with that timeline?
oh, yeah, that's,
if
ballpark, yeah.
Things go,
That's if everything went smooth and perfect and that can happen.
The one guy.
So,
yeah,
But the 35,000, like how much space do we need from that one parcel or the?
not that very much. Not much, but it's just, we'll get past that, but it's just their initial reaction. They were upset with something that happened. Or something that didn't happen, I guess we should say, in terms of an expected reimbursement for a $4,000 expense.
Yeah.
So, that, we'll sure be able to negotiate past that. Well, I'm not 100% sure.
Another reason why a time frame is give and go, right? Because you just don't know what hurdles you're gonna do, so.
Right,
Negotiations take time sometimes.
They do.
sometimes they do. Okay, if there are no other questions on that, let's get into the fun stuff. And I think we are ready now to talk about plans for each of our development areas, and we have a lot of them. So, the original EDC, our economic development area, is basically, do we have the ability to pull them? So not,
Not with it, or through Zoom and YouTube.
okay. So the original EDA includes, most of the commercial area in the downtown. It includes the industrial area out by, North Washington, 9th Street. It would include the, properties on the other side of 421, 1839, 29 going to, so the, basically the, area again where the hardware store and, the car dealership and so forth are. And it would also include, any of the areas that have not had separate allocation areas, onto the south. So it would include, for example, the, Body Works and that area and, on down, I believe, probably to city limit. I'd have to look at the map.
I'm gonna zoom in, because that's still gonna shoot this direction no matter what with the new camera, so it's not gonna show. So I can put it on our screens here, as far as. Just mentioned, just,
Yeah, the,
there's the body. This area that you wanted.
it goes all the way out to the north to the industrial area. Yeah. So, well, we really have not done any projects in any of these areas. We've talked about projects in the past. One of the ones that I think we had talked about for for the original EDA was,
Fixing the curve.
street lights along the Ninth Street corridor, or, before you get to the Ninth Street corridor, and straightening out the curve. So that probably would involve, purchasing a corner of land, and then, curving the roadway, through that area so that it's not as sharp a
Makes it
turn.
easier for the semis there.
Yeah. And especially if you need a car
Yeah.
there.
Well,
So-
my thinking is if in some way we can make that eventually the designated truck route through 9th Street and
Yes.
stuff like that, that would make it more susceptible for the semis to be there, so we're not getting the guys when they're coming downtown. So it'd make it a lot easier for them.
Is, so that area, would, I think that would be, a key project, especially if we're planning long-term on trying to do a truck route. Is that something that you'd like us to put down as a potential project for that area?
What kind of lights would you be talking about?
So there really aren't streetlights out there,
Oh,
and
streetlights.
they run, second shifts, at some of the plants out there.
That's. So a lot of semis turn down 10th Street instead of 9th Street because they think that's their turn. And then they get stuck on the 10th Street's only this long and there's a curve. And it's quite dangerous. They come cruising around that corner and then they get stuck on the curve. And so I'm just saying, it's a
Probably
personal
back
ask.
tires in that yard too, I think, with not much room right there.
One day there's gonna be a semi in my parents' house, I'm just saying. So,
Yeah.
but would that include like looking at that?
So signage.
Yeah,
too,
signage or lighting.
Or even the connection from 9th to 421,
And that
because
was the
trucks get backed up there.
county.
Yeah,
Like when they're making a lattice street.
Right.
It's a tough way to
It's
go,
it's a tricky little spot,
just building off that
Yeah.
corridor.
That's a little hoop street there.
yeah.
so we would probably, initially then, want, some type of an engineering review of that area to see what's feasible to do. Yeah, too much unless you've got some plans in place. So that would involve, obviously talking to the property owners for that curve area. But, what is the feasibility, and Mayor, I'm kind of leaning on you for this, of widening 9th Street? Is that in county or is that
That's
city?
county.
It's county.
Yeah, part of it's
Part
Part of it says that we stop. Interesting, how this goes, but right here's where
Hmm.
just past the park here, it goes out to these parcels, but so a lot of it would be ours up to about, yeah, so it'd be a mutual,
Be like a the equivalent, probably like 3 blocks,
yeah,
Maybe.
looks like it's
because it's on the industrial side, right?
correct. Yeah, we captured all this with the industrial side, so about right here is where it would go county, down 9th Street, which is right there at the railroad spur. That
Of course, there's
is
not much,
Megan Gates.
a lot of houses come up
Right up
close to the road, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the fiber companies, when they were going through there, had very limited room to.
So, the project area we want, a project that we want to put on the list, and perhaps see what, preliminary engineering would do cost-wise.
I'd like to explore that, and is there a way of like quantifying as part of that exploration, like what sort of like damage we would be saving from the industrial park to downtown by like the reduced truck traffic? Kind of like the Stone Bridge, I feel like just,
At some point in time, we're not gonna be able to, I mean, like, not soon, but at some point in time, we're gonna have to figure out how not to get somebody to go over that, because that's.
Which would be a county thing, because the county is owned by the bridge is owned by
Right, the bridge is owned by the county, but I mean-
So,
But it's inspected by the state.
yeah,
So if the state, reduces the weight limit, and trucks.
They used to have a weight limit on
I know,
So-
but when they inspected it the last time, you know, they,
it. Yeah.
oh, wow, everybody, come on, you know, you can.
So another little thing to think about too is like, we do the street lighting, obviously the city has the UDO. Or like the specifications for street light, well, not all of it's city, so are we gonna have, you know, two different sets of lighting or?
Do an MOU
Yeah,
to keep it
we-
consistent.
We would have to do an MOU. for the
Just
roadway
a
as
little
well,
thing,
so-
yeah, just a little thing.
You could do it joint CC&G as well.
Yeah,
Mhm. That might be the way to go.
Yeah.
Existing roadway.
Mhm.
I'm curious if you can be widened, because those houses are real close.
It would have to be easement spot on the east side, because the west side, well, either side, it'd have to be property bought, because there's no way to do anything at the current time. There's not enough, so.
The little spot of land between 9th and 10th Street, the Shrine is trying to sell it right now.
The adopt a spot.
Yeah, I don't know, that little, where the tree was, it got torn down. Trying to sell half of that.
it's literally like, right, it's a little triangle piece that separates 9th and 10th and 421, it's just.
Where the semis,
Yeah. Where
It's
they,
stuck.
Right here.
Yeah, where the semis get stuff.
yeah,
Yep, gotcha.
I think we're exploring, sure.
Right, and then interesting area with the state out there, buttoned up to the state.
Yeah.
That's interesting that they are looking to sell that,
Well, yeah, they are, they asked,
because it's just a little tiny,
they asked
I mean,
my
it,
dad if he wanted to buy it, why?
yeah, it's small,
I didn't think turn.
42 feet by 65 feet, so it's a perfect triangle.
Last I heard it was still for sale.
Yeah.
Would that
Asking price on a tiny
be
triangle.
something that the redevelopment, and Miriam, I think this is a question for you. Is that something the redevelopment commission could buy, for the city?
The redevelopment commission could buy it for the redevelopment commission. I'm not sure whether you can hear me or not.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay. So yes, the redevelopment commission can buy it for the redevelopment commission. If it needs to go to the city, you can also arrange that as well.
Okay. Okay, I think we should at least look into pursuing that.
The other half of that little patch is owned by the car dealership, because that's where their sign is.
Okay, so, any other, potential projects in the original EDA that come to mind?
Oh, so you're talking about this little piece right here, not the piece of adopted. You're not talking about this one here, right?
I'm talking,
Because here's 10th,
yeah, no, I'm talking about,
this one,
yes. This one, where the tree got cut down, they own some section of that.
okay, because that's all right away right there. This is all right away right here, so I don't know.
Well, maybe this thing. I don't know, they tried to sell it to us. That's all I know. For like 40,000.
Oh, right there, that's the one they own. That's
Yeah, there we
right.
go. Oh, I was told it was that spot over there. Because they own that too,
And that one,
yeah,
Okay, a bunch of them.
but they do own some part of that section supposedly.
Yeah, probably good, good.
Woodlawn Rurals, this one's Woodlawn, so
Um,
they own these two.
Any, the projects? Consider?
I have a question. Since you said that this area would include down by the body works and such. Is there anything to be, I know it's a highway, But would this body do anything to, I don't know, make it easier to walk to the park, like do anything along that stretch to, I don't know, improve walking from downtown to the park, for example?
Like,
I mean, like,
there's a sidewalk. So
Yeah,
you
but
mean-
there's not a sidewalk all the way, is it? No, okay, well, never mind. It doesn't feel very, it doesn't feel very welcoming.
There's a sidewalk along the body of works and then it goes across the
It goes
bridge.
across the bridge.
Yeah.
Then there's a little, oh, all right, this does go all the way.
Yeah.
Never mind.
okay. Consider it forgotten.
Consider it, forget I said anything.
Okay, moving on to the next one is the Burnbrae, Bowen Estates. And, that is pretty much moving along with the developer. Cameron, is there anything that you,
Other than, we are working on the phase 2 re-engineering, kicking that process off. So obviously that's another one of those that takes a lot of time and for a while before we get to that part. Phase 1 only having 5 homes, but it'll be ready once it gets to that point, the engineering and all that will be done at that point. So, one house is sold and they're gonna be
when they moved in?
they're moved in, yes. Yes.
Atkinson's.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so. There's some, new subdivisions, so there's always things that you gotta work through and Malacus is, handling those, so.
So I have a question, the 80 acres that is in the county. That's part of the Bowen Estates and it's part of the residential TIF. Miriam, have we exercised our 2 mile fringe?
I'm not entirely sure we have a 2 mile fringe because of the way the EDO, the way the county was before we adopted the EDO. So we have worked with the county to, let me think about that. We
We've
did
worked
talk to
with-
the county, yes.
To do what?
We talked to the county commissioners about protecting that, and they were a little bit helpful. But if you're talking about that 80 acres that's right next, that's part of that whole area, the best result would be to annex it, and then you would have control over it.
And then, so is that, how big a priority is that for the city?
To annex it?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's probably something that, particularly as we begin generating funds from the residential, the houses that are being sold, the improvement, as we begin generating TIF funds, is that something that you would like to see the redevelopment commission assist with?
Yeah, but I don't, until we get those funds, obviously what's the priority with infrastructure, coupled with infrastructure, the schools and all that, but yeah, it's eventually, because they changed the one of the items that came across the Indiana changes this year was annexing and the process of annexing, how it's a much longer process, it's a lot more tedious, and I'll get you guys that language so you understand it better, but it wasn't easy to start with, but then they flipped it upside down for smaller communities that's making it more challenging, but yes, I don't know where on our priority list, it's obviously to continue with Bowen and serving the area, so I guess the question I asked for the board as well is what's do we have a 10-year plan, 20-year plan forecasted, and we have to get the protection in there? Yes, it's after what we've.
Is it, and again, Miriam, I'm kind of throwing this your direction. Would it make sense to consider an option on that 80 acres?
an option would be one way to do it. Another, maybe another strategic way to deal with it is to look at the zoning adjacent to that property, even though it is in the county, it still, I believe it still has to comply with city zoning. So if there are setbacks in the city, if there are certain requirements for buffers in the city that can be imposed upon the 80 acres, even though it's not part of the city. And that might be the quickest way to get some protection there.
When they rezoned, weren't those protections? Didn't they
I thought they
indicate
were-
that they had to meet those buffer requirements and setbacks?
Yes, that was part of the area plans stipulations to it being
Yeah.
zoned I-1 industrial. which-
And it also had to have action within 5 years, I believe.
Yes, or it reverts back to its original zoning.
The buffer's not incredibly deep. I mean, it's better than nothing, but I guess I was a little disappointed that it wasn't more than it was. Kind of depends on how much protection you think is necessary between the residential area and the industrial area. I mean, he also has some significant challenges to even developing back there, especially on the, what would that be, the northeast side?
The wetland and the protection
Yeah.
with,
I mean, even just getting city
Well-
utilities out there. I
Well,
mean,
yes.
Yeah, I mean, that would come up to us and be like,
ingress egress. And-
Yeah, ingress egress is huge too, because
I mean, and I
would
don't think
have to
it's
come
very
across
highly
city
developed.
land.
And it's surrounded, Miriam, it's surrounded by all R1 low density residential. To go
On,
back-
yes, on one side, and I believe there's a ditch on the other side, so that would also play
Yeah.
into how much industrial development he can accomplish.
Right.
And then you got
And then you got
NDOT,
Bridge Creek at the
yeah,
south end
and then you got the Hoosier Heartland overlay.
overlay. So there are significant things there already, but yeah, that would trying to sell it for this, some type of industrial use. So we can certainly look into those possibilities and, we're not really ranking these at this point, but we're coming up with, ideas for each of the areas. We can come back and talk about what what we think. Since we won't have money for everything,
Right.
where should we throw our resources? The Armory Road, and that's the 150 acres. It's a residential TIF. It's consists of properties, 2 parcels from Baker and Julius. Maybe it's 3 parcels. I think maybe 2 from Julius and 1 from Baker. And the city did have a concept plan developed by Kimley Horn, same time, roughly the same time period that we did the one for the Burnbury Estates. Not much has happened with that area. Some initial discussion, the St. E was interested in considering some of the land to do patio homes because they would like to be able to go from individual to assisted to nursing care. So development of some type of, low maintenance individual living close to their area. I think that's indicated on the concept plan as well. So, I think now that we have success with the Burnbury or Allen Estates,
Which is what they were waiting on.
yep, and now that we have success with Front Street, being fully leased in a year, just over a year, shows that the demand is here. And I'm headed to a conference actually that's historic preservation. Both Christina and I are going to that. But it's interesting, one of the sessions is basically creating requests for qualifications for developers on properties that, are, under a TIF allocation. So, we'll come back with some information from that, and it may be something that, since we already have a concept plan, maybe now's the time to pull the trigger on that. So, we can certainly talk about that at our next meeting after we have a little bit more detail on whether, I mean, it sounds, at the 30,000 foot level, like
Sounds a bit good.
we're ready to proceed, but, we don't really have any of the, information as to how this, process has worked in other communities. So we'll bring that back to the next
We
meeting.
put it within a range, like a lot of communities have a future forecasted plan. So some do 5 years, some do 10, some do 15, 20, so.
Yeah, mix of all the above.
And obviously it goes by your community size and obviously your budgets that you have to work within, which has changed for every community in January, but just having some kind of forecasted long range planning, which is the comprehensive plan was a great piece of that. And then you can kind of dial in off of that. So the vision per se for the city.
This could be another area. Again, I think we have to look at all of the areas that are, already allocation units that are not developed, and think of what tools we have. So whether that's on films or, the RFQ that we're gonna learn more about, concept plans, more detailed plans, that will help us to market properties. So, but for now, I think if everyone's in agreement, we'll bring back more information about how we would market the 150 acres to developers, and see if that's a trigger that we're ready to pull. Does that sound okay? Any other ideas for that area? Okay, now one that's gonna be kind of interesting, the canal district.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So Mike, you sent out an email. You wanna kind of summarize that for us and
Yeah, so last year or 2 years ago, we're all blended together. The canal, Carroll County Wabash Erie Canal Inc. purchased a little under 20 acres of land on contract from the Underhill family. And it runs right along the canal. I'm trying to find out my map here. Yeah, it runs right along the canal. It's also bounded by the mobile home park, and then the train tracks that serve, I assume, the quarry, I think. So that field there, the canal purchased it for protecting the view shed from the park, and also for development of some new exhibits, which we're really excited to be building. But there, to my knowledge, there aren't any plans for the section of the field, especially further back. The field is currently being farmed for hay or alfalfa. I'm sorry, I'm not agricultural. Anyway, so it's being farmed right now, and that's on, I think, a 5-year contract. But long term, I think, I'm assuming the canal would be open to entertaining ideas for what, the bulk, especially the further back from the canal, bulk could be used for, or could turn into.
so the city owns 13 acres, right behind Save a Lot, behind where the storage units are. You can see the loop, well, it's actually a pump station. That's your cursor is almost, sorry, Save a Lot. Is the road going up to that little light area over to the left?
That's like it.
Yeah, so that's, and there was well, number 6 was also in that field, and that was decommissioned, so we no longer have the wellhead protection over that area. And just kind of an FYI, one of the first things that we talked with Ironman Properties about was they were interested in perhaps doing townhouses in this residential TIF area. And then now walk, you know, the 20 acres, well, but there were other things that happened too. TNR was doing their,
Hurdle and everything.
and while, you can tell DNR that the canal is not a permanent body of water and that, you know, should there be flooding, you just turn a valve and it goes away. And they're not willing to consider that, so.
Even with the cities, the water control systems underneath the levee.
We threw everything at
Oh,
them
okay.
to include, yeah, we
That was
literally threw
area
a
plan.
lot of,
Oh, okay.
it didn't matter what we did, they come back to the rector line,
Yeah,
essentially. So they had public meetings about it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
yeah, it was a great deal of fun. So it really
It's on
puts
flood
that
plain.
in a higher level of risk than it'd probably be attended to it based on
So that-
factors that we could consider, but the DNR.
So this area that says it's an X zone with the line sewer that's protected by a levee, that's the area that, obviously, we had some development down there with the new Family Dollar, the storage units, and this was very early on with FEMA doing what they were gonna do with the LOMAs and the LOMARs and all the fancy acronyms, but at any given point, they can change anything they want to be in a flood zone, which then we found out last year that these people that were put in the flood zone now have to pay flood insurance, which they were not happy about, but that's, again, we told them that's not us, right? That's not the city. We tried to fight it as much as we could. We actually spent a lot of money fighting it, which doing engineering and so on and so forth, but ultimately FEMA had control of it. But what I'm trying to say is this entire area that can happen at any given time, unexpectedly. So it's a,
It's a mortgage that can place flood insurance.
yeah.
So I was told the year the canal center opened in 2003, it flooded almost up to the building. Was that, this is, Dan McCain told me this. He said, oh yeah, like the water came out of the canal, it came right to the building, but not quite in. And is 2003 before there was the gates underneath the highway? Are those?
Yes, because the floodgates weren't put in until 16,
Okay.
16, 17, or 18 is when they did the additional flood gates out by Save-A-Lot and some infrastructure. So that was before those would have been in place, yeah. So,
And I don't think there was redundancy in the pumps either at that
Right.
point, so.
Gotcha.
yeah, when the stone quarry put in their lines and they started their side of things of watching it and overseeing it and all that, now there's a lot of eyes on it, so. Again, that was another thing that we threw at FEMA, but that
Yeah.
didn't really throw a lot of weight, so.
That's also before there was the monitoring on, you know, the Wabash and, on Deer Creek for that matter.
Yeah.
So that information now, the water, the flood levels, you know, that information gets communicated directly to the street department and to others and,
Those antennas that stick off the bridges,
yeah.
Mhm.
that, we watched that nonstop during what's called events.
Yeah.
We watched it, that we correlate that with, in the hydro dam data from Oakdale, from Norway. And we can watch kind of, which it's a lot, but if you do it long enough, you can watch the numbers and know what Deer Creek's, what's coming our way, right? So that's what myself, Aaron, Mike Fincher, we're all watching this, Mike Martin. Won't go too far in the weeds with that, but it gives us an idea of what they're letting go at Oakdale and it's coming this way. So again, that was before they had all that.
Right, we didn't have that monitoring back.
Now Aaron could kind of be on the ready to go activate those pumps, given alerts. I think he gets alerts, I get alerts, Fincher. So lots of change since then. It was a good investment.
But all the protections don't really mean anything because FEMA could still.
Take it, it doesn't matter if we put, yeah.
We might have a short or medium sized window if the government shuts down. The flood thing has to be reauthorized every year, and if it's not reauthorized by tomorrow. They don't want to hear
All
anything,
right.
so.
It's, if we show that easy.
Yeah.
I'm just having a little small window.
So.
Yeah, it might be a little too small.
One thing that I'd like to mention is, while we're on the flood or the canal area, is the entrance into the canal that's partially owned by the industrial folks, where it's gravel. Just it goes from gravel to asphalt up at the entrance. Just, is there anything this board would be interested in, is just a, not necessarily an intersection improvement, but maybe a pavement that would keep it from being gravel?
So that's not part of the canal district.
It's too far over.
It's part of the original EDA
Okay.
or EDC. So
We can work that in.
We can put it in that box.
it could go in that box.
Intersection.
And then, I think it would be a question, you know, for the group as to what our priorities would be on that and whether there would be partners, perhaps a public partner, public-private partnership on that, or maybe it's match dollars going into a CCMG project to widen 9th Street or whatever.
I would recuse myself from the conversation.
Right, I understand.
I of course be interested in seeing it paid, but it's also an interesting wrinkle because the canal parks, the parking lot is actually a city parking lot. The city owns it. I was really hoping when they did their slurry that they would just come on in and pave the parking lot, but whatever the surfacing is, I don't know. But they did.
The microsurface.
Yeah, the micro surfacing. Hey guys, come on in.
Microseal,
Yeah, but yeah, I'd say that it's over the years, like for the canals part, I know we've put in dozens and dozens and dozens of tons of stone on that entrance.
Yeah.
The neighbors have not expressed much, actionable assistance for the entrance. The canal does not own the entrance.
And it doesn't last long with the truck traffic
So,
in and out. I mean, you could put it in and then a week later, these
Yeah.
pop back up.
sure.
So would that be something like pavement of the entirety of that road? Because I know it's pretty pothole-ish. All the way back.
Yeah, I mean,
This part here,
Oh, all the way back.
the Rhineland,
I
The
think
Rhineland
for that would be a great way to work with the owners of this, because they use a lot of truck traffic.
Back there too.
Yes,
yeah,
and when somebody's come down it, it just creates a dust.
Well, not only that, but I mean, the road is terrible.
Oh my God, you don't want to take a cup of coffee with you when you're going.
No, you don't.
we've had truck drivers like angrily shake their fists at us, like, it's not ours.
You're like, it's a city, we're Dr. Barry.
Well, I don't know, is the whole drive, is that the cities or is that the industrial parks?
I think it's the industrial.
I
park.
guess that's
Yeah,
City owns the parking lot, you're correct, but,
right.
and that was done in order for the,
Interpretive center to get built.
right, for the grant, because it had to be adjacent to public property.
Right.
If I remember Jan's
Yeah, that's
lectures
what,
on
yeah,
those.
that's what it was. Yeah, it had to be,
Um,
so,
So. Well, it's something to put on the list, and then I think it's certainly a discussion to have with the property owners. As to whether, you know, it could be a shared. Expense. It would have to be more than a typical road.
You have to
Because-
take the weight of the truck traffic.
Yeah. It's gonna have to have a lot
Yeah,
more
so it doesn't
base.
show up in our roadway inventory,
No, it's not ours.
Yeah,
so that's,
that's
and of course, you got the railroad spur, that's.
so earlier this year, we did reach out to the industrial park owner and ask about, we go in together to get this paid, just the entrance to the parking lot at least, not the whole length of it. And they said, okay, we'll get us a quote, so we got them a quote and then radio silence since then, but,
Mhm.
so we have a quote.
What was it? What?
Gosh, I think my messages.
Was it, just for the
Just the
Just-
entrance?
entrance of the whole strip?
It just the entrance part, just to get it off Washington to the paved parking lot essentially.
Hmm.
So that's the entrance portion. I think I want to say it was maybe $30,000, 20 or 30.
And was that
Was it?
Was a standard asphalt thickness for road, or was it?
Yeah, it was, the quote came to us from, Terry Wilson. You know him.
Yeah.
And we asked him about thickness and all that stuff. He said, oh, it's under us. There's a solid layer of limestone right underneath it. It's solid as a rock already. It's like, I don't.
That's why it has potholes.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
you can take that chance of just putting it on top of that or doing it the
Yeah.
design standard way to where it's gonna be obviously a lot more cost, but
Yeah,
limestone has proven to be a great base for a lot of things, but
Hmm.
I don't know, I guess I wouldn't know how that would be for asphalt. That's interesting. But
There's that whole area is under limestone.
it's the hardest limestone in the state.
I know when they Duke updated the electrical lines out front there, and it took them a heck of a long time and a really big, scary looking auger to get those things, well, yeah, right across the street from you.
Yeah.
I wrote 2 of them in my yard.
The
Yeah.
Market Street project that we are nearing completion, they rented a very large diamond bit grinder, which was huge. It made quick work of it.
Okay, well, there we go.
So
Now I
the first that the Reeve Riley said they've never used it before in the history of the country.
all right.
Thanks for using Delphi, right? So that shows you how hard our limestone is.
Like the one closest to my house,
Yeah,
You're right.
there's a 15-foot square block. Concrete in the ground. They can get one in there.
Oh, my gosh.
So they ended up getting one of those pits that, remember, they spent 3 days hammering out a big square, poured full of concrete with a ring on it, but
man,
hour.
that's amazing.
Oh,
That's amazing.
15-foot square block right outside my back with my back. We'll try to set a dirt on top of it.
Crazy.
Okay, so we'll add, that paving of at least of the entranceway. And perhaps of the road back onto the potential projects for the, original EDA. And, for the Canal District, which is the residential TIF, we may wanna, first have a conversation with the Canal Association. And then we have not done a concept plan for developing that area. It probably is gonna be expensive to develop because there's, due to FEMA's handling of the canal, it's gonna be a lot of fill required. So.
You mean for that? Field, 20-some acres you're talking about.
There's a total of 33 acres there. The city owns 13, and then whatever the canal was purchasing 20 acres, but
I think we're setting aside, it'd probably be like a strip along the canal, so a couple acres off that, just to.
Why, just an idea of it. When we did the open house, the ribbon cutting, Atlas was trying to get rid of that mountain of dirt.
Hmm.
Burn break.
Hmm,
I mean, why? Trying to give it away, why couldn't we haul them? And fill that down there?
good question.
Yeah.
Here's the mayor. Let's ask him.
And for full disclosure, Mike and I have not talked about anything that I just mentioned. This was something that I noticed before I even started this position by just going and shooting hoops and being part of parades and watching the dust. So this, full disclosure, this was not a discussion that we had.
That's fine.
Yeah. So
So Danny, you wanna raise your point?
When we did the ribbon cutting up at Burn Break, the Atlas people, talking about the mountain of dirt there, and the construction guys said, "What are you gonna do with the dirt there?" He said, "Well, try to give it away, you want it?" So we're just talking about that being like a foot too low or whatever down.
The 13 acres and the
13 acres and then
20 acres
or
down
whatever.
there at the canal.
You know those
district.
people if you.
So that's
gonna require-
changed now because they're gonna use that dirt for phase. Now that they're engineering and all that with phase 2 starting, they'll use whatever they can to offset the soil and all that, so it's
So they're gonna use it there.
correct.
Outside.
That's my understanding. So I can check on that and
Do they
confirm
have
it.
to Aren't they enlarging one of the detention?
Yes, they
ponds?
took one of the detention ponds out, made one larger one, and then one that's on a different parcel all by itself.
But they will still.
So they'll have
require
additional.
some fill.
Yes.
For the areas where they're.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but they, usually that kind of weighs itself out to, you dig it out and you can use it elsewhere on the site. They did have extra from that, but until the engineering's completed on phase two, they won't know
Yeah.
how much they're gonna need and probably won't short themselves. But I
And if
can,
they do need a place to put it, certainly the 13 acres would be, the city owns it and it would be a place to put it. Or, because we know that that area is gonna have to be raised.
That just makes sense, I think. They were trying to get rid of it.
And in the meantime, you know, if we, I think the only thing that we could do would be for that canal district, which is a residential TIF area, would be to talk to the canal, perhaps come to some type of an MOU.
Mhm.
And then, perhaps engage, a company like Kinley Horn to do a concept plan for how it might be developed and what some hurdles would be. That sound like a plan, a plan for the plan.
Yeah, I want to come to the plan.
Northeast allocation, project 218. I guess we continue to work on the easements for sure and hopefully get to engineering a design for 2026. Any other thoughts on that? Very.
Kind of an important step to get done.
Yeah.
I think before we can even move on.
To engage, do a request for proposal from, obviously VS Engineering did the easement and the surveys for the easements. And the route for the utilities. So they're familiar with it, and city uses BFNS for a lot of their engineering, so at least those two firms and perhaps a third. See what we find out about proposals we get.
especially with infrastructure, we have our pager system that tracking all our infrastructure, our,
Our streets.
so Butler Fairburn handles several of those items when it comes to things that we're putting in the ground and curating them. So,
But you're still working with them on the sewer,
mhm.
so that this would, and other infrastructure probably as well as for water sewer. Okay. All right. I don't think there's much else other than that we can consider for the. I mean, we do have the kind of concept plan, if you will, from Norfolk Southern that shows, you know, the rail serve. And what that could be, which is really exciting if we can get to that point. Sorry. Front Street interurban apartments. I don't know that there's anything we need to consider there.
The streets paved.
We bonded. We hope that the state hasn't screwed stuff up so that that developer bond can still pay. I mean, that the TIF can still pay the developer bond off.
Haven't seen that yet. Got a book at Friday's Mayor's Roundtable in Auburn about that thick of, they would just keep coming in. So just keeps changing and I wish I could say it's changing for the better, but it's not. So. Work through it.
Is there anything adjacent to the Front Street area that you would like us to consider?
Like the.
Like fixing a theater station?
Well, I wasn't gonna say it. I wasn't gonna say it, but we have a building with a hole in it that we'd love to have some.
Oh, with the original depot?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, that's obviously fits within the realm of redevelopment. It's a preservation, it's redevelopment, it's. It's multiple things, but yeah, that'd be nice. It's a neat building, it's a piece of history, it's a piece of history that's in our city.
I guess as the president of DPS, I would also recuse myself mostly, but I will put in a plug.
And I'm on the board.
But I will put in a plug. We can use all the help we can get.
Unfortunately, what happened with the hole is given, what's the bank? The bank gave way, which basically pulled
We have a plan.
everything. So other than that, the building itself is, I think, I'm not an engineer, but I think there's some possibilities. But it was built in 1900.
So we have
That's a
a,
neat building.
yeah, we have a structural engineers, we had a structural engineer report done. We have a plan to shore up the building permanently to keep the roof from caving in because of the hole. So like the most immediate concerns with it, we have. So.
Has anybody contacted the DNR regarding the bank stabilization and all that?
No.
No. We can keep the roof up.
Okay,
Over the
I'm
winter.
just curious, because ultimately that's gonna be something that's gonna have to happen, because you can see the trees down there, you can see the roots.
Yeah,
So that it's just gonna, if we get a high water event, it just keeps taking more each time we get a high water
Yeah.
event, so.
just trying to keep the.
No,
That's the
power to it.
So. But anything y'all wanna think about?
Yeah, it really kind of creates, high water creates an eddy right there at the base.
Yeah.
I just want to say. Oh, thank you, Julia.
You're welcome. If I else starts coughing, I need you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
But I mean, as far as the redevelopment part, I mean, there is a vision out there for the interurban station to be revitalized and have more of a walkway on that side of the canal. To go from basically Fourth Road all the way through to the bridge,
Okay.
the suspended bridge. Like there is a vision out there in the ether about, making that more of a public space that's usable.
Talk like right here, on this area here, along the creek, down to
Yeah,
the
I
bridge.
think, I mean, incorporating like whatever they're doing with the interurban department, landscaping and things, and having. I mean, it's a little pie in the sky right now, but that is a vision out there.
Working with Dick Bradshaw, who owns that station and the steel building next to it. And the idea would be to create a transportation history museum on that site,
Yeah, that'd be cool.
mostly post canal.
Well, yeah, that's okay. You gotta tell the whole story,
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't all be both, like.
No, that's good.
You guys have the canal covered.
I know, get that covered. We gotta add to the historical transportation portfolio.
Good. So the
Yeah, it is.
committee
How long ago did that start?
posted on progress. We do have a plan to
Yeah, just recently.
put in permanent steel. Go ahead.
We have a plan, to put in permanent steel framing on that wall right there, cause now behind that tree is a big hole. And so we have a plan to permanently shore it up so that the weight on the roof in the winter won't bring down the rest of the building while we work on. And ideally then, when we put it back together, that steel framing will be able to stay right there, and we'll just build a pony wall for it with brick and then have window out of the bridge. And of course, the trees won't be. And the thought would be to have a museum in the front half, and then this back, where the electrical stuff used to be for the, and then would be maybe like a cafe or a pop-up place to have coffee while you look at the creek.
Like the mayor said.
The view of the creek, yeah, it's beautiful from that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And
And the foundation, the foundation that the wall is on is in really bad shape, obviously, that's why the wall fell down.
But this part right here is
Yeah.
what gave way, just basically pulled this
Yeah.
white part here, this
But
tree
the
went
rest
and
of the
it.
foundation is in good shape,
Yeah,
it's just the
the
wall
cement
foundation.
floor and, doing research on this, we found out that, before there was another building there before the interurban. And it was, part of the planing, you know.
Yeah.
There was very heavy equipment on that and on the creek side. And so the, foundation underneath is, I mean, you can see it from across from Riley Park. And it's these, stone pillars that come up, and then the cement floor is very thick and it's in excellent shape. So it's just when they did the interurban walls, they brought them up to the edge of that, but they didn't even put them on top of them, so.
Yeah. So they might sacrifice a little bit of to rebuild it better.
So anyway, we'll keep you posted on. Any other projects? Is there any other business to come before the board? I'm choking.
Anybody CPR qualified? That's all, that's right. Yeah, we get to ask for public comments. We have a fan.
No public comments.
Thanks.
In the water. Okay, our next meeting is the 10th, right, of November? And what's the time on that one? 5 p.m. So that'll be a public meeting, and hopefully we'll get the underlying taxing units here, and we'll present the budget and our plans.
Part of the city will be here, so.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Cameron, were you bringing snacks to that meeting?
Yeah, it's
For the
gonna
public to enjoy?
pizza. Oh, I better not say that already. Cause then it'll be, yeah.
We'll have a full house.
Then we won't be able to move it here.
People be excited, well, tip this room.
That's it. Any other business to come before the board?
Marriage.
Miriam, do you have anything?
No, I do not.
She's like, oh.
Was that a yes or a no?
No.
That is good.
All right.
Spencer always has to help me to.
Is there one last motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second that one.
All right. Well, in favor, signify by saying aye or just,
Aye.
yeah.
Bye.
Thank you, Miriam.
Thank you, Marion.
Have a good evening, everyone.